Good evening. This is Just the News. I'm Faye. Let's get started with an update from Nagaland. After 14 civilians were killed by security forces in the Nagaland shootings, the state government, has decided to ask the Home Ministry now to repeal the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, or AFSPA, from the state. Now, the decision was taken during a cabinet meeting chaired by the Chief Minister on Tuesday, today. In that meeting, it was also decided that a special investigating team will be constituted to investigate that incident, and they will complete their investigation within a month. The government also decided to call off the ongoing Hornbill Festival in protest to the civilian killings. However, stalls at the venue will remain open, and the tourism department will apparently have a small closing ceremony. For those of you who don't know, remember, civilians, workers in a coal mine who were coming home from work on Saturday were attacked and fired upon by the security forces, who were under the impression that they could have been extremists. The security forces then confirmed that it was a case of mistaken identity. 6 civilians died on the spot. This triggered protests and angry mobs later, upon which the security forces fired again on Saturday and Sunday, where 8 more people died. Now, just to give you a background on what this is, AFSPA, which I told you the government has asked for a repealing of, which is the full form of which is the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, is an act that gives armed forces powers in areas deemed as disturbed by the central government. Now, these areas are designated by the government when it's of the opinion that the region is disturbed or in a dangerous condition, and the armed forces are necessary in order to give civil power, more power. Remember, in peace times, it's the police that maintains law and order in any situation, unless the government, for whatever reason, believes that the law and order is very sensitive, in which case the army is brought in. Now, under these provisions, the armed forces are empowered to open fire, to enter areas in search without a warrant, to arrest anyone who's committed, according to them, a cognizable offence, all while having immunity from being prosecuted. Currently, AFSPA is effect in Jammu and Kashmir, Nagaland, Assam, Manipur, excluding 7 assembly constituencies of Imphal and parts of Arunachal Pradesh. AFSPA has been criticized quite often for being a draconian act, for the unbridled power that it gives the armed forces, the impunity that the security forces and personnel enjoy in these areas, because their actions just cannot be investigated. Now, under the AFSPA, the armed forces may shoot to kill or destroy a building on mere suspicion. A non-commissioned officer or anyone of an equivalent rank may use force based on an opinion or a suspicion to arrest without warrant or even kill. He can fire at anyone, he or she, anyone carrying anything that can be used as a weapon, with only such due warning as they may consider necessary. Once AFSPA is implemented, no prosecution, and this I'm quoting, no prosecution shall be constituted except with the provisions of the sanction of the central government in respect to anything done or perpetrated to be done under this act. So basically, what it does is that it gives the armed forces the power to do all of these things, and any investigation into their action will require a sanction from the central government. In 2016, the Supreme Court actually, really came down hard on the government over the continuation and the use of AFSPA. The Supreme Court judgment clarified that the notion that the act gives a free hand to the security forces is flawed, and the continuance of the act in any region for extended periods symbolizes a failure of civil administration and of the armed forces. The Supreme Court also ruled over 1,500 cases of fake encounters or alleged fake encounters in Manipur over the last 20 years, and said that they must be investigated. The Meghalaya Chief Minister, Conrad Sangma, on Monday said the Armed Forces Special Power Act of 1958 has been counterproductive to address the law and order issues in the Northeast region and should be repealed immediately. He said that his party, which is the National People's Party, an ally of the BJP, is against this act and will continue to urge the central government to repeal this draconian act. We, of course, have a video uploaded onto our YouTube page, which is a discussion with 2 experts on AFSPA, on its relevance today and whether or not it should continue to be used. Do take a look at that video if you want more information. Moving on to updates on the new variant of the virus and its movement in India, the Indian Medical Association has warned that there could be another wave of COVID and has urged the central government to provide booster shots to those working in the healthcare and the frontline industries, and also to immunocompromised individuals. It's also asked the central government to consider vaccinating those children between the ages of 12 and 18 at least. According to PTI at a press conference, the association, the medical association, has said, and I quote, "At a time when India is limping back to normalcy, this is a great setback. If we do not take adequate measures, we might have a massive third wave." India reported 6,822 new COVID cases over the last 24 hours. This is a really good number. Remember, we were hovering around the 10,000, 8,000 ballpark. We're now down to 6,000. It's the lowest number of cases reported in a day in about 500 days. India has also added Ghana and Tanzania to the list of at-risk countries. The other countries on the list are all European countries: the UK, South Africa, Brazil, Botswana, China, Ghana, Mauritius, New Zealand, Zimbabwe, Hong Kong, Singapore, Israel, and like I told you, Tanzania. Travelers from these countries will have to submit negative RT-PCR tests and still be home quarantined for 7 days if they arrive in India. In the meantime, UK's Health Minister Sajid Javid has said that there is now community transmission of the Omicron COVID variant across regions in England, but he says it's too early to say if it will, and I quote, "knock us off our road to recovery." A total of 336 cases of the new variant have been confirmed in the UK, includes cases with no links to international travel, which means community transmission within the country. According to the latest data, there are now 261 cases in England, 71 in Scotland, 4 in Wales, bringing the total number of confirmed cases up to 336. An update from our parliament in India: the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, so the MSME ministry, has said in Rajya Sabha, the government has no data. It has said the government has no data on COVID-related suicide among vendors, tradesmen and businessmen. It has said this ministry doesn't maintain data of suicide. Now, according to the National Crime Records Bureau, the NCRB data that came out, remember we talked about this, 11,716 businessmen died by suicide in the year 2020. Out of those 11,000 deaths, 4,356 were tradesmen. This is according to NCRB. About 4,200 were vendors, and the rest accounted for the other businesses category. Of course, the assumption here is that it's COVID linked because of lockdowns and the suffering that small businesses went through. Of course, the ministry in charge of small businesses says it has no data. In the meantime, according to ANI, Kerala has accused the state of Tamil Nadu of repeatedly opening the shutters to the Mullaperiyar Dam at night without any warning or notice to the state of Kerala. The Kerala Water Resources Minister Roshi Augustine told ANI that the state government will file a petition with the Supreme Court against Tamil Nadu. He said, and I quote, "The government asked Tamil Nadu to release water only in the daytime after informing Kerala. However, Tamil Nadu repeatedly opened the shutters of the reservoir at night." End quote. Kerala has issued a high alert in the region. The Mullaperiyar Dam is situated in the Idukki district, which has been suffering floods over the last few months on the Periyar River in Kerala, but it's managed by the Tamil Nadu government, and it has been the bone of severe disagreement between the two states. In Madhya Pradesh, the Bajrang Dal and the Vishwa Hindu Parishad vandalized a Catholic school in Vidisha, alleging religious conversion of 8 students by school authorities. They can be seen on video marching into the school, throwing stones at the school building, breaking the glass panes when students were in the building, apparently answering their board examinations. The police have registered a case against 4 identified VHP members, 50 unidentified Bajrang Dal members under sections for rioting with armed and deadly weapons, causing damage amounts of more than 50 rupees under the IPC. This comes after a video was circulated online that showed a prayer meeting being held for alleged conversion of 8 students. In a statement, the school said, this is fake news being spread by some YouTube channel. The news of Holy Communion of 8 Catholic students is being circulated as a conversion of Hindu students. The VHP regional president, Rajesh Tiwari, meanwhile made a statement saying members of VHP and Bajrang Dal were holding peaceful protests, but antisocial elements joined in and created ruckus. End quote. Comedian Munawar Faruqui's name has been dropped from the list of participants of the Gurgaon Comedy Festival after authorities alleged that they've been receiving repeated calls and messages in the last few days opposing Faruqi's participation in the festival. The authorities have said that they've taken the step in view of public safety. The three-day festival is scheduled between the 17th and 19th of December. On Monday, Arun Yadav, the Haryana head of the BJP's IT department, filed a police complaint against Faruqui, accusing him of insulting Hindu gods and goddesses and asking the police to ensure he doesn't perform. He also tweeted saying that he won't let Faruqui perform in Gurgaon or anywhere else. 12 of Faruqi's shows have been cancelled in the last 2 months. News coming in from the world of business and economics. The Minister of State for Finance, which is the junior Minister for Finance for the Government of India, Pankaj Chaudhary, spoke in Parliament today and told Parliament that the government has, and I quote, no plans of boosting the cryptocurrency sector in India, end quote. He went on to say the authorities intend to roll out a central bank digital currency, CBDC, which is basically a digital currency that will be released by the RBI. He also went on to say this currency will be backed by the central government, and apart from other benefits, it won't have the volatility which is normally associated with private cryptocurrencies. Now, one assumes two things. One, by private cryptocurrencies, they mean cryptocurrencies that are not issued by government. Also, one must realize that there is a difference between a digital currency, which is digital and not physical in paper, and cryptocurrency, which is blockchain and cannot be, by definition, released by a government of a country. When questioned about how trustworthy cryptocurrency is and whether it is possible for government to regulate it, the minister said, and I quote, currently cryptocurrencies are unregulated in India. The government doesn't collect data on cryptocurrency sector. The government has no data. Moving on to news coming in from across the world. The UAE has become the first country to introduce 4.5-day work week in the country starting the 1st of January 2022. This means the weekend will start from Friday afternoon and I'm assuming extend till Sunday. This will effectively bring the UAE on, sort of the same calendar, the week calendar as the rest of the world. The move was announced by the state news agency WAM on Tuesday. It will come into effect, like I said, on the 1st of January and bring the UAE on par a little bit with Western schedules. The UAE currently has a Friday-Saturday weekend, which corresponds to other countries in the region that follow that format. Indonesia's Mount Sumeru has been active again on Monday as the death toll from the volcanic eruption is now 34. Search operations are underway for the 30 people still missing. The mountain is spewing thick columns of ash about 12,000 meters into the sky, searing gas and lava flowing down its slopes after a sudden eruption. The eruption has left the entire street filled with mud and ash, swallowing homes and vehicles in several villages. Mount Sumeru is one of the 100 active volcanoes in Indonesia. The United States has decided to bring in a diplomatic boycott of the 2022 Winter Olympics to be held in China due to China's human rights atrocities against the Uyghur and other Muslim minorities. The White House has announced that no official delegation will be sent to the Games, but US athletes can attend and will have the government's full support. White House Press Secretary has said, and I quote, the Biden administration will not send any diplomatic representation to Beijing for the 2022 Winter Olympics and Paralympics, given that the People's Republic of China's ongoing genocide and crimes against humanity and other human rights abuses, end quote. China's reaction to this, China's Washington embassy has called this a pretentious act and said, and I quote, no one would care about whether these people come or not. It has no impact whatsoever on Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics to be successfully held, end quote. An update from the world of sports. India's badminton contingent ended their Asian Youth Para Games 2021 campaign with 16 medals in Bahrain. The Tokyo Paralympian Palak Kohli, Sanjana Kumari, Hardik Makkar clinched 3 medals each. Para badminton contingent won 4 gold, 7 silver, 5 bronze medals in total. It was the 4th edition of the Para Games. That brings us to the end of the news. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, we do have a special video that has gone up, a discussion with experts on AFSPA and its relevance in modern day India, whether or not it should be repealed, breaking it down really to help us understand what it is and what impact it has on the people it governs. Take a look at that video. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.